Hey crew, it's Pitt and I'm back with some more Esoterica. Today we are diving back into the Theatrum Chemicum Britannicum. We are reading aloud and discussing as we go along the various points brought to light by the text. It is not the format for everyone, but people do find value in it, so you are more than welcome to tag along as we continue our exploration. Before we begin, however, if you are unfamiliar with me, any of my unconventional beliefs, or if at any point in time I lose you in terminology, there will be several playlists linked in the corner above, in the box down below, along with the original source material, the link for my book where I teach you to do magic and live responsibly, and the links to get in contact with me directly so that you can get a better understanding of who I am and why I say the things that I do. With that being said, we are going to dive in and continue our exploration of the Theatrum Chemicum Britannicum of Putrefaction, the fifth gate. Let's go. Now beginneth the chapter of putrefaction, without which pole no seed may multiply, which must be done only by continual action of heat in the body, moist, not manually, for body else may not be alterate naturally. Saith Christ do it witness, do it witness, without the grain of wheat, dye in the ground, increase may thou not get. Once again, I'm not really looking for a whole lot of new here, right? We have discussed quite extensively the negredo, the albedo, the rubedo process, the conjoining together of all of the things into the one that is the philosopher's stone of the heart. This appears to be part of the negredo process, which is the darkening. It is bringing up through the stack the various vices so that you can reminisce upon them and understand them and assimilate them and balance them in your life. The next step is the albedo, where the whitening process by which you bring down the virtues, and you do the exact same thing. And then the third step is the combination thereof. You bring up and down the balance points through the heart into the divine to do manifestation. This appears to be part of the negredo process, right? Going through the vices would definitely be putrefaction. Back to the text. And in likewise without thy matter do putrefy, it may in no wise truly be alterate. So if you don't do this, it will not be alterated. Nor thine elements may be divided kindly. That is, the elements. There is a division and there is a unification, right? You have to divide before you can bring them back together. That is why it is a three-step process. Nor thy conjunction of them perfectly celebrate, that thy labor therefore be not frustrate, the priviate of putrefying well understood, or ever thou take thy work in hand. And putrefaction may thus defined be. After philosophers' sayings, it is of body the flaying. Right? Flaying of the body, right? What is the philosopher's body? That is the mortal coil, right? They have the misapprehension that we're on a prison planet, that all of the material things are necessarily gross in nature as opposed to the more subtle divine. I am not in agreement with that. I believe that we are here intentionally, that God has created your temple for a purpose, and it is not a prison. And so I don't necessarily agree with the philosophy of this. But the understanding is, right, the philosopher's saying of it, the body's the flaying, right? That would be going through and punishing. Well, right, flaying is definitely a punishment, but it is the removing of the skin in a large direction. And so it is peeling back the layers so that you can get an understanding more than anything, right? The flaying of the body is not necessarily talking about blood. If you're doing blood, you're doing it wrong. But if you are going in and you're doing the self-reflection, that can feel a little bit like bloodletting. Right? Some of the things that are not good for you, you are definitely going to be attached to. And in our compound, a division of things, 3. Again, confirmation bias. The killing bodies into corruption forth leading, and after unto regeneration them ablaying. right? You break it apart and then you build it back up. For things being in earth without doubt be engendered of rotation of the heavens above. That is in accordance with what I believe already. Each one of these are rotating, right? And it is even in accordance with the heavens above. And therefore, as I have said afore, then elements commixed, and wisely co-equate, thou keep in temperate heat, eschewing evermore that they by violent heat be never incinerate, to powder dry up unprofitably rubificate, but into powder black as a crow's bill, with heat of bowel, with heat of bounty, or else are dunghill. Right, this word I'm not sure of, B-A-L-N-E. This one is dunghill. They make reference to that quite often. I mean, part of the putrefaction process, right, to the physical alchemy, is a dunghill of things decomposing. It's making compost. That is an organic process that happens, and that is something that they used. To time the nights be past 90. That is a significant amount of time. In moist heat, keep them from anything. Soon after by blackness thou shalt espy that they draft fast to putrefying, which thou shalt after many colors bring to perfect whiteness with patience easily. And so thy seed in his nature shall multiply. Well, what do we have here? We have confirmation bias. That's what we have, right? We have exactly what I would expect to find if I was writing this myself 400 years ago, right? Which show thou shalt after many colors bring. There is 7 steps, 8 really, in the process of, right? It begins at red, it goes through indigo. It does include the black and white matrix, right? There is love and wrath, lust and chastity, gluttony and temperance, greed and charity, pride and humility, sloth and diligence, faith and despair, and then the large one around is source and self. There is a balancing point between all of those, but they are signified by colors: red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet, checkerboard, white, and black. That is it, right? That is what this is talking about. To perfect whiteness with patience, right? You bring it up, you make it white. That is literally what you're doing. You're pulling the dark energies up through the vices into the white energy, making it white. This is exactly what I would expect to see. Make each on other to house and make ek on each other to house and Kyffe? What is K-Y-F-F-E? That does not look like an S. Maybe it is. House and kiss, maybe? As like as children to play them up and down. And when their shirts be filled with pus, then let the woman be washed, to wash be bound. Which often for faintness will fall in a sound, and die at the last with her children all, and go to purgatory to purge their filth original. Again, there is no original sin. That is a foolish idea. And if that is confusing to you, I have several videos that will help. I suggest Genesis. And when they be there by little and little increased, their pains by heat, more and more, the fire from them let never cease. And see thy furnace be apt, therefore, which wise men do call Athanor, conserving heat required most temperately, by which the water doth kindly putrefy. And again, the dark side of the spirit is considered the water, right? The water on one side, fire on the other side. That is going to be the knowledge going forth, right? There's several reasons why I believe that fire is a better explanatory, but water does work for a variety of reasons. Of this principle speaketh sapient Guido, and saith by rotting dieth the compound corporal, and then after morion and other mo, upriseth again regenerate, simple, and spiritual, and were not heat and moisture continual. Sperm in the womb might have now abiding, and so there should thereof no fruit upsprying. Therefore, at the beginning of our stone is thou take, and bury each on with other within their grave. That is interesting. Therefore, at the beginning our stone thou take, that is the heart, right? The heart is the philosopher's stone, and bury each on with each other within their grave. It's almost as if there is two sides to every part of this. Then, equally a marriage betwixt them make, to side together fix 6 weeks. Right. To lie together 6 weeks. Then let them have their seed conveyed kindly to north, and save from the ground of their grave, not rising, that while which secret point doth many on beguile. Alright, so again, this is the marriage is the unification of the parts, right? The sacral alchemical marriage is the marriage between light and dark into balance out into the world. It is literally bringing into conjunction the 3-step process that is. And so this absolutely makes sense to me, right? The marriage between them make on their grave, that can be talking about the point in which they rest, right? That is the internal chakra points. From the ground of their grave, not rising that while, right? There is 6-week process is what is being said here. I recommend 8. There are 8 steps, right? Each one of these is a step up, and then there is one more step, and then there are 8 steps down, and then there are 8 steps together. And so that is a 24-week process, right? Not just 6, but 24. 8 times 8, or 8 plus 8 plus 8. 8 times 3. This time of conception with else heat abide, the blackness showing shall tell the when they die. That is true as well, right? In the balancing point, right? Take for instance this bottom one, which is love and wrath. There are 2 sides of it, and if you look really close, you can see that that is represented by the light and the dark. The dark side of this is the vice side. The light side of this is the virtue side. There is the darker color that comes less dark as you purify. Right? It never gets completely white. It will never get completely light. But this side is closer to ultraviolet, and this side is closer to pink, and the balance between them is kind of a glowing cherry color. That's what this is describing, right? The time of conception with else heat abide, their blackness showing, shall tell when they die. Whenever you start to find the balance, the color lightens up. The blackness showing shall tell when it becomes lighter. For they together, like liquid psyche that tide, shall swell and burble, settle and putrefy. Shining colors therein thou shalt espy. Again, like to the rainbow, marvelous unto sight, the water then beginneth to dry upright. The drying is the top, it is the white. The moist is bringing up, the drying is bringing down. And there is the revealing of the rainbow. Again, I am in accordance. For in most bodies, heat, nourishing temperate, engendereth blackness first of all, which is of kindly commixtion of the token affectionate. Now, there is a token, right? You can even look at it as affection. The bottom one is love and wrath. A kindly commixtion of the token, that is the balancing together of the two. Again, and of true putrefying, remember this, for then to alter perfectly thou may not miss. And thus, by the gate of blackness thou must come in to light of paradise, in whiteness of thou wilt win. Again, the light of paradise in whiteness is going to be the top of the stack. For first, the sun in his uprising obscurate shall be and pass the waters of Noah's flood, on earth, which were 100 days continuate, and 50 away, or all this water yode. Right so our waters, as wise men understood, shall pass, that thou with David may say, aberrunt in sico fluisma, bear this away. I mean, there are a couple of references here to the control system that was most definitely in effect whenever he was writing this. All right. The waters of Noah, that was 40 days and 40 nights. I mean, not 100. Interesting. And 50, 150. Very interesting. And then, like, that is definitely a misrepresentation of the story as recorded in the book, right? And then you have David as a reference. That is not a good reference ever. Soon after that, Noah planted his vineyard, which really flourished and brought forth grapes anon, and which space thou shalt not be assert. For in likewise shall follow the flourishing of our stone, and soon upon that 30 days overgone, thou shalt have grapes right as the ruby red, which is our adrop, our ulcer red, and our lead. For like as souls, after panis transitory, be brought into paradise, where every is joyful life, so shall our stone, after his darkness in purgatory, be purged and joined in elements without strife. Rejoice the whiteness and beauty of his wise, and pass for the darkness of purgatory to light of paradise, in whiteness elixir of great might. And again, it's just confirmation bias, right? I don't have a whole lot of reason to expound upon, right? I really feel like I'm just hammering the nail home every single day. It is literally just going to be confirmation bias from this point on, I guess. And that thou may the rather to putrefaction win this example thou take to thee for a new conclusion. For all the secret of putrefaction resteth therein, the heart of oak that hath of water continual infusion will not soon putrefy. There's a reason for that, right? Let's talk chemistry for a second. Oak has tannins in it. Tannins are an acidic substance. If you soak oak in water, you get a light tannin or a strong tannin, depending upon your distillation. And you can use that to cure leather because it prevents putrefaction. And it is quite literally an acid. Acids prevent the decay of things. That is one of the reasons why we preserve things in them. Bases do the same thing, right? It takes a somewhat neutral element in order to have putrefaction, as opposed to just dissolving, which would be more of an acid taking it away. The putrefaction is more of an organic process. Right. Will not soon putrefy, I telleth without delusion. For though it in water lie 100 years and more, yet should thy find it sound as ever it was before. But and thou keep heat, sometime wet and sometime dry, and thou many see in timber by usual experiment, by profs of time, that oak shall utterly putrefy, and so in likewise according to our intent, sometimes our tray must with the sun be brent, and then with water soon after we must heat cassie, that by this means thou shalt by rotting bring heat. Well, for now in wet, and now again in dry, now in great hot, and now again in cold, to be shall cause yet soon for to putrefy. Again, we have the wet and the dry, that is the bringing up and the bringing down. We have hot and cold, which is the exact same thing, kind of in opposite order, right? So we bring it up from wet into dry, and then we bring it down into hot, and then into cold, right? Or down as hot would be better, and then into cold, right? That is the 2-point process. There is a third step by which they are unified, but I don't know that we're going to address that in this particular stanza. Now hot, now in great heat, and now again in cold, to be shall cause yet soon for to putrefy, and so shalt thou bring to rotting thy gold. That again is part of the process. There is a golden light. Increase thy body therefore as I have thee told, and in thy putrefying with heat be not so swift, left in the axis thou seek after thy thrift. Referral to the axis is definitely something. There is the quaternary, right? The fire, earth, air, water. There are correlations between those. Therefore thy water out of the earth thou draw. The earth is the physicality, right? It is you incarnation. It is also the bottom part of the quaternary. At the top you have air, which is the soul making the decisions. That is quite literally the spiritual and the physical that you are bringing into balance. And so water out of earth is pulling up the dark spirit through the body. And make the soul therewith for to attend. That is indeed what you are doing, right? The soul is the air at the top that you are bringing to attend to these issues, making decisions about them even. Then down again into the earth, heat throw. So, okay, take the heat from the top and bring it down. Again, exact accordance. That they oft times so attend and descend, ascend and descend. Again, from violent heat and sudden cold defend thy glass, and make thy fire to temper it, that by the seed sittest, thy water be never vitrificate. Right? The glass is you, right? You are the glass that is being filled. You are the glass that can shatter if you are not being intentional, right? The purification process is not an easy one. Identifying the vices within yourself brings about a lot of emotions. Those emotions are there for a reason. They are there to point out things to you, but if you are not intentionally walking through those emotions, they can be overwhelming. And if you are in this process and something is revealed to you that you are not necessarily prepared for, that would be violent heat. That would be violent cold, right? That could even shock you in your vessel to the point where you no longer continue the process. This is telling you to be careful for that. That is something that will almost certainly happen. Discovering the shadow parts of yourself is not exactly the most pleasant of experiences. It is a necessary one. It is something that you should definitely walk through, but it's not pleasant. And be thou wise in choosing of thy water. Metal with no salt, sulfur, nor mean mineral. For whatsoever any water to thee do clatter, are sulfur and mercury be only in metal, which Alice and water some men call oils. It's got to be oils, right? O-Y-L-Y-S, oils and water. Fowls and birds with other names many one, because that solace should never know our stone. Because that follies should never know our stone. For of this world our stone is called the cement, which moved by craft as nature doth require, in his increase shall be full opulent, and multiply his kind of thine own desire. Therefore of God vouchsafe thee to inspire. To know the truth, and fancies to eschew, like unto the shall be, and riches but few. And this is telling you that the process requires you to be open, right? To be open and honest, to be accepting of the things that might not be exactly pleasing to you to discover, right? To know the truth and fancies to eschew. That is self-realization, despite the absolutely certainty that there are negative things about you that you must accept. You can change them once you have accepted them, but you must accept them before you can change them. But many be moved to work after their fantasy in many subjects, in which be tinctures gay, both white and red, divided manually, to sight, but in the fire they flee away. Such breaketh pots and glasses day by day, imposing themselves and losing of their fights with odors and smokes, and waking up by nights. Their clothes be bawdy. Now this is talking about the false practitioners, right? This is talking about the people who are definitely out there telling you that they know something and they do not, right? We had a couple of examples that we have worked through, right? We worked through Cornelius Agrippa, right? He recorded other people's works, didn't really put it to the practice whatsoever. He was merely relaying information. Eliphas Levi, who was probably a nefarious agent for the church in the esoteric studies, and Aleister Crowley most especially, who purported himself as someone who knew things and bore absolutely no fruit throughout the entirety of his life. Their clothes were bawdy. They were showy. They were like, look at me, as opposed to look at my results, which is a whole different thing. Their clothes be bawdy and worn threadbare. Men may them smell for multipliers where they go. To file their fingers with corrosives they do not spare. Their eyes be blurred and their checks both lean and blow. Both seen and blow. And thus, for had I wist, they suffer loss and woe. And woe. Loss and woe. Okay. Such when they have lost that was in their purse, then do they chide, and philosophers sore accurse. Right? Well, I've spent all the like Agrippa was a good one for this, right? Or even Crowley, or well, any of the three examples. Right? There were several things contained within those that were just merely there for cost prohibition, right? The building an altar with semi-precious stones and precious metals, for instance, completely unnecessary. No need whatsoever for that, but you can spend your purse on it. You can do that. That is something that you can do, and it looks impressive, right? Your clothes will look bawdy, but they might be threadbare. Right? Men may smell you. Right? That is definitely talking about physical alchemy, I really hope. Although if you look at some of the people that we are talking about, you might think it is maybe talking about physicality. Right? Eliphas Levi for sure. And so, this is talking about the people who are not on the path, but think that they are on the path. Right? The people who are chasing the vain side of it as opposed to the humble side of it. For all the while that they have philosophers been, yet cowed they never knew our stone, that's the truths. Some sought in soot, dung, urine, some in wine, some in flime, what is this? Some in Flyme, flime? It's got to be flame, flame. For thing yet is but one. In blood, eggs. Some till their thrift was gone, dividing elements and breaking many a pot, multiplying the shards, but yet they heat it not. To see their houses is a noble sport, What furnaces, what glasses there be of diverse shape, what salts, what powders, what oils and waters for't. How eloquently the materia prima they clape. And yet, to send the truth they have no hap. For our mercury they meddle, and of our sulphur vive, wherein they dote, and more unthrive. They take of the red man, of his white wife, that is a special thing, and of elixirs too, of the quintessence, and of elixirs of life, of honey, chalcedony, and secundus also. These they divide into elements with other mo. No multipliers, but philosophers called will they be, which natural philosophy did never read nor see. This fellowship knoweth our stone right well. They think them richer than is the king. They will him help, he shall not fail. France for to win, a wondrous thing. The holy cross home will they bring. That would be the internal cross, not the control system one. And if the king were prisoner, I take, anon his ransom would they make. A marvel it is that Westminster Church, to which these philosophers do haunt, sith they so much riches can work, they make boast of and avaunt. Drinking daily the wine, a due tante, is not made up perfectly at once, for truly he lacketh yet many stonies. Follies do follow them at the tail, promoted to riches, winning to be, but will hear what worship and avail they win in London that nobody sight, with silver maces as ye may see, sergeants awaiting on them every hour, so be they men of great honor. Sergeants seeketh them from street to street, merchants and goldsmith layeth after them watch, that well is he that with them do meet, for the great advantage that they do catch. They hunt about as wroth a ratch, winning to win so great treasure, that ever in riches they shall endure. Some would catch their goods again, and some more good would adventure. Some for to have would be full fain, of £10 one IU insure. Some which have lent without measure their goods, and be with powder bested, to catch a noble would be full glad. But when the sergeants do them arrest, their falconers be stuffed with Paris balls, or with signets of Saint Martins at the left. But as for many, it is passed on the walls, then they be led as well for them befalls, to Newgate or Ludgate, as I you tell, because they shall in safeguard dwell. Where is my many become saith one, where is mine saith he and he. But will ye hear how subtle they be anon, and answering that they executed may be, saying of our elixirs robbed we be, else might we have paid you all your gold, if it had been more by tenfold. And then their creditors they begin to flatter, promising to work for them again. The elixirs too in short space after, doting the merchants that they be fain to let them go, but ever in vain. They work so long till at the last they be again in prison cast. If they then ask them why they be not rich, they say they make sin gold of 10, but he, they say, may surely swim in dike, which is upholden by the chin. We have no stock, therefore we not win, which if we had we would some work. I now to finish up Westminster Church. And some of them be so devout, they will not dwell out of that place, for there they may with houten doubt do what them lift to their solace. The archdeacon is so full of grace, if that they please him with the cross, he foreseeth little of other men's loss. And when they there fight at the wine, these monkeys, they say, have many a pound. Would God, saith one, that some were mine? Hey ho, care away, let the cup go round. Drink on, say another, this mean is found. I am a master of that art, I warrant us shall have part. Such causeth the monkeys, then evil to dawn, to waft their wagges through their dotage. Some bringeth a mazer, and some a spun. Their philosophers giveth them such courage, beholding them winning without damage. A pound for a penny at the left again, and so fair promise maketh solace fain. A ryle medicine, 1 upon 12, they promised them thereof to have, which they could never for themselves yet bring about. So God me save, beware such philosophers, no man deprave, which helpeth these monkeys to riches so, with threadbare cowls that they do go. Right, this is just calling out people who are practicing wrong, right? I am pretty sure that it's monkeys or actually monks, right? The people who are practicing the life of asceticism through the pride of it makes them better. Let that sit for a second. Yes, if you are practicing asceticism, you are probably practicing pride. I am better than you because I only eat bread and water. I am better than you because I do not eat meat. I am better than you because I do not have sex. I am better than you. That is the root of asceticism. There is a time for denial. That is something that should be practiced. But there is a time when it should be practiced. It should not be all the time. And many of the people who are monks live a life of asceticism, and they think that they are doing well, but doing good with the expectation of reward, even in the afterlife, is greed. Back to the text. The abbot well ought to cherish this company, for they can teach his monkeys to leave in poverty, and to go clothed and moneyed religiously, as did Saint Benet, eschewing superfluity, easing them also on the ponderosity of their purses with pounds so aggravate, which by philosophy be now alleviate. Lo, who so meddleth with this rich company, great boast of their winning they make, for they shall have as much by their philosophy as they of the tail of an ape can take. Beware therefore for Jesus' sake, and meddle with nothing of great cost, for, an thou do, it is but lost. There is definitely some cost that is attached to doing things outside of yourself. These philosophers, of which I spake afore, meddleth and blendereth with many a thing, renewing in errors more and more. See the Bible study. Definitely see the Bible study for renewing in errors more and more. For lack of true understanding, yes, definitely the Bible study. But like must like a way forth bring, so God hath ordained in every kind. Would Jesus they would this bear in mind. When they of a nettle to have a rose, or of an elder an apple sweet, alas, that wise men their goods should lose, trusting such lustles when they them meet. Which saith our stone is trodden under feet, and maketh them therefore vile things for to style, till at their houses with stench they file. Some of them never learned a word in scholies. Some think by reason to understand philosophy. Be they philosophers? Nay, they be follies. Therefore their works proveth unwetty. Meddle not with them if thou be happy. Be very careful with the deceivers. There are several of them still active today. Let with their flattering they sow the till, that thou agree unto their will. Spend not the money away in waste, give not to every speech credence, but first examine, grope, and taste. As thou provest, so put thy confidence. As thou provest, so put thy confidence, and ever beware of great expense. But if thy philosopher live virtuously, trust the better to his philosophy. There will be fruits that will be borne by those who bear the truth. Prove him first, and him oppose of all the secrets of our stone, which prove him first, and him oppose of all the secrets of our stone, which if he know not, thou needeth not to lose. Meddle thou not further, but let him gone. What is that telling you, right? That there are many alchemists out there who are not necessarily keyed in on the right things, and many of them are not going to be, right? There is definitely an attention problem that is prevalent, that is being pointed out here. There is an attention to riches. That is one of the problems that has been associated with alchemy over the years, right? The surge for the transmutation into physical gold was mainly greedy, right? And so there is definitely something to pay attention. If they do not know the secrets of the stone, don't mess with them. What are the secrets of the stone? Albedo, rebudo, no, negretto, albedo, rebudo, right? White, darkening, whitening, reddening, the joining together, the mixing of the virtue vice matrices. That is what he is talking about. And if they don't know it, don't tell them. Don't mess with them, right? Meddle thou not further, but let him gone. Make he never a pittos of mine, of money, never make he never a pittance of money. For then the fox can fag and feign, when he would fainest his prey attain. If he can answer as ought a clerk, how be he hath not proved indeed. And if thou wilt help him to his work, if he be versatile, I hold it meed. For he will the quite of ever he speed, if thou shalt weet by a little anon, if he have knowledge of our stone. One thing, one glass, one furnace, and no more. Behold this principles if he take, and if he do not, then let him go. Glass, furnace, interesting. For he shall never the rich man make. Right? That would be glass as the negretto, the furnace as the albedo. And he shall never the rich man make. That might be true. Truly, it is better thou him forsake, than after with loss and variance, and any other manner of displeasance. But, and God fortune thee for to have this science by doctrine which I have told, discover it not wherever thee crave, for favor, fear, silver, nor gold. Be none oppressor, lecher, nor boister bold. Serve thy God, and help thee power among, if thou this life lift to continue long. Unto thyself thy secrets keep, from sinners which hath not God in dread, but will the cost in prison deep, till thou them teach to do heat in dead. Then slander on the should sprying and spreed, that thou did coin them, would they say, and so undoed thee forever and day. And if thou teach them this cunning, their sinful leaving for to maintain, in hell therefore might they be wanting, for God of thee then would disdain. As thou now cowed for thyself saying, that body and soul you may both save, and here in peace thy leaving have. Now in this chapter I have thee taught how thou the body must putrefy, and so to guide thee thou be not caught, and put in durance lost and villain. May doctrine therefore remember wittingly, and pass forth towards the sixth gate, for this, the fifth, is triumphate. And that is going to bring us to the end of the fifth gate, putrefaction. Hopefully I brought a little bit of enlightenment and not too much confusion to a somewhat difficult topic. I understand that I hold some unconventional beliefs, and I do have a tendency to step on toes when I relay those. It is not intentional, but it is not something that I apologize for. Once again, I feel like we have explained fairly well going through, right? And if it is confusing to you, there is a resource available. This book is available for purchase at the link down below, and it will tell you most of the concepts that are being discussed in here. But, however, if you wish to wait a couple of weeks, you will be able to buy the second edition, which will explain them slightly better, right? It is possible to get there from this, or else I would have taken it off the market. It will be much more possible with the second edition, so if you want to wait for that, that is perfectly understandable. But in addition to purchasing the book, this is available free. I have a playlist that will be linked up here where I read this aloud, and we talk about these concepts not in great depth, right? I didn't do a discussion with the read-along, but we did the read-along so you could have the information. The discussions are in the other playlists. And so that's where we're going to leave this. If you like what I'm doing over here, let me know down below. Give me a like, a share, a follow, throw me a comment. If you agree or disagree with anything that was stated, put it in the box down below. And if it remains respectful, it gets to remain up. If you really like what I'm doing over here, hit me with that super thanks. Consider joining for a membership, picking up a copy of the book, or reaching out to me through the links provided down below. To the crew, thanks for hanging out. I appreciate every single minute that you are here with me, and I am praying for you every single day. Until next time, I love you. God loves you. You are perfect, whole, and complete, just the way that you are. And this has been Pittstake. Peace.